That's very hard to define depending on how you want to look at it. I define that as anybody that on the federal level that goes beyond the enumerated rights given to a federal senator or the President of the United States. The enumerated rights is a limit on power that the federal government has. Not a beginning point, but a limit. If you go beyond those limits, you are now considered an enemy to the United States Constitution. I have said, when I become the next United States Senator for the state of Utah, I'm going to do, and I'm going to ask myself 3 things. The first thing is this constitutional and in the proper role of government? If you cannot answer yes to that, you have to vote no on any bill or any piece of legislation. If you cannot answer yes to that, you are doing something unconstitutional. You now become an enemy of the United States Constitution. The second question is this the right thing to do morally? If you cannot answer yes to that, you should automatically vote no. If you cannot answer yes to that, you become an enemy of the United States Constitution. The third question is, will this better the people of the state of Utah, and will this better the people of the United States of America? If you cannot say yes to those 3 questions, you are now an enemy of the United States Constitution. Thank you.
I think we have a number of domestic enemies right now in the U.S. Senate. And, but let me go back a few years when I was growing up. My father was a doctor, and we lived in Hollywood, California, and he was quite involved in the business world there, Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club. And I remember as a young girl, he'd come in and he'd say, you know, I know some of the guys that Joe McCarthy's talking about. How many of you learned in school that Joe McCarthy was just a crazy witch hunter? Well, I'll tell you, that's wrong. There were some people way back then that were undermining this country, and they still are today, and they're not just in Hollywood anymore, they're right in our Congress. And what's the other part of this? How will I and can I defend? Well, the best way to do it, I think, is to be vocal about what is going wrong. We've got redistribution of the wealth. It's out there right in front of it. There's no conspiracy about this, my friends. It's blatant. And I believe that if we keep speaking out strongly and we keep rallying people, such as you here tonight, who are understanding the truth, then we'll be heading in the right direction. But I just have to put a little plug in for somebody that I really think has done more for this cause than anybody in my recent memory in the 30 years that I've been involved in trying to defend the Constitution and the things I've been involved in. That's Glenn Beck. He is the only one that is really speaking more truth than anybody else. And I agree with George Wythe University that named him the Cicero of our times.
I like this question because it focuses on the oath the senators are required to take as a requirement under Article 6 of the Constitution. You notice in the text of that oath that it doesn't say that I as a U.S. Senator will take an oath to whatever set of principles Congress says that I can get away with under the Constitution. That's not the oath. Nor does it say that I take an oath to the Constitution as broadly as some might want to read it. You see, I think the enemies, foreign and domestic, are those forces which would tend to stretch this thing out, tend to make it no longer a limited purpose federal government and turn it instead into a consolidated national government possessing general police powers. Anyone who would do that is a domestic enemy. I think we all agree on what the foreign enemies are. They're terrorists, they're countries who would do us harm, they're the countries to whom we send hundreds of billions of dollars each and every year for their oil. We have to buy it from them because we can't drill in Anwar and we can't develop our oil shale reserves. So those are the foreign enemies. The domestic ones are the ones who make us buy it from our foreign enemies. See, so the problem comes full circle. It's related. The way I would defend them is by going back to first principle, by reminding everyone that we are a country that lives under the rule of law. The Constitution will direct us as to what that law is. And whenever that's being violated, we've got to fight it tooth and nail and call a spade a spade.
Who is not afraid to take on the ridiculous decisions that are being made right now. They are bankrupting our country. They're bankrupting our children. Can you believe that we're giving away so much money on health care? We're forcing companies, they're going to force companies, small companies, out of business if this health care thing really passes. We need to look at the battles that senators can fight. Now, I also believe immigration is an issue that we have to face as a nation. It is killing our economy. It's undermining the culture and the jobs that have made America great. Today, young people, when I grew up, I worked a dozen jobs. I built houses. I was a hod tender. I hauled hay. It built character. Our young people today don't have those opportunities because we have changed our culture. We have got to control our borders in this country. If we do not control our borders, we are going down a road and we will not recognize what this country is 20 and 30 years from now. So I think those are examples of domestic enemies to the Constitution. Thanks.